Hey guys, it's Sean the EV Bloke here, back with another video. Um, this morning I wanted to speak, or today, I wanted to speak a little bit about uh, acquiring an EV, really, because I do get quite a lot of questions about what type of EV to go for. So people that are thinking about getting an EV, just not sure what to do. So I just thought I'd answer a few of those questions. And I guess the first and foremost one is what you're going to be using the car for is one of the big factors to start off with, I think, because there are many reasons. Is it going to be a main car? Is it going to be a secondary car for going around town in and doing local stuff? Is it going to be your one main car? So that's the first starting point. Two, of course, is budget. So what is your, how much can you afford to spend? So that's obviously a big factor. And they are coming down, EVs, but they're still nowhere near, as you know, in my opinion, where they should be. So it's looking at that side of it as well. Sorry guys if I'm speaking a bit weird. I've got a bit of tooth that's chipped off of one of my teeth at the bottom here, and it keeps on rubbing on my tongue. So I'm sounding all a bit like that. So forgive me for that. Yeah, so that's some of the concerning points there. Now, some of the things to look for when going for a car is not to get too carried away with the WLTP, as I call it, the world range of the vehicle, because it's nonsense. It's never going to do that. In actual fact, the BYD are actually not bad at getting somewhere close to it, I think, especially in the summer, but you probably won't get them in this. You'll get near it in the summer, but probably not. But again, in the winter, you'll be nowhere near it. You just won't. So does the car come with a heat pump? Because that's going to be really important in the winter. What is the battery size? Obviously, the larger the battery, the further range it's going to go. So you want a fairly sizable battery if you're looking to do a lot of miles in the car. If you're looking to go in the same town you live in to work and back, and you've got a home charger, it really doesn't matter. You know, an EV fits in perfectly for that. But more to the point, if you're going on a lot of road trips, or you work a bit further away, or you know, you do a lot of traveling in your car, then that's when you're going to really need to think about what type of vehicle. So I'm not going to go over brands, because they're all much of a muchness. They're getting better on range. More and more are fitted with heat pumps now to help with winter range, where the most losses come. But I guess really the big factor is those two things really. So it's battery size. The larger the battery, the further it'll go, even in winter. If you've got a bigger battery, it's obviously going to go further. But then you've got to factor in it's going to take longer to charge. And that's the third point, is charging speed. What is the charging speed of the vehicle? Anything, I wouldn't, it's difficult for me to say this because I've got an Atto 3, which has an 88, 89 on a good day, kilowatt hour, miles per kilowatt hour battery. That's the maximum speed I can get into the vehicle, which is a 45 minute charge to kind of full, which you want to be doing with this vehicle, by the way. At least once a week, you need to be charging your blade battery. Any blade battery vehicle needs to be charged to 100% at least one time a week, in my research. But on the whole, you're going to be looking at a car that charges 100 to 150 is probably the next bracket in. Ideally, 150 to 200 charging speed is where you're going to start getting that 30-minute and under charging speed. So if you're doing a lot of traveling, you want to be looking at vehicles that charge at that kind of speed with a heat pump, so that they can maintain it in the winter and get the charging speeds. Or it has a facility to precondition, which means to warm the battery up when you get to the charger, which is another important feature. Another one this doesn't seem to have. So yeah, it depends on your use case, primarily your budget, of course. If I was to name drop any brand, it probably would still be Tesla, because I think they're the Swiss Army knife of EVs still at the moment for me. They've got a good charging network. They charge pretty fast. You're going to get over 200 kilowatts in a lot of them now. They do long range versions. If you need the range, it's there. They actually got pretty good storage, Teslas. Their software is still the best for me. And the price is coming down quite a bit on Teslas, by the way, as well. So that would probably be the brand to really look out for. I know this is predominantly, well, I'm the EV bloke, so I'm dealing with electric cars, but mostly I'm doing videos on this car I'm in now, which is a BYD Atto 3. But that would be my go-to for it, for the kind of ultimate all-rounder, if you like. But saying that, there's so many cars out there now that do the everyday stuff really well. You can get away with so many cars that do the everyday stuff. So look at those cars that do the everyday stuff well. And there's many of them now. I mean, there's loads that can charge reasonably fast. If you've got a home charge, it doesn't really matter. If you're working locally and you're using it mostly for work, and you're going on, I don't know, you're going on a holiday twice a year or once a year, if you're lucky these days, I guess, it'll fit into that purpose for that kind of reason. So it just depends on the use case, but that would be my thing. And the kind of things to look for is, as I mentioned, preconditioning. When you're thinking about an EV, you've always got to think of it. They promote them on their best use case scenario. So they're promoting them from the best range you can get on the most perfect day, where you're going to get 300 miles, say, out of a car. In this case, 260 is what they claim. Or you have to come at it from what will be the worst case scenario. And how you work that out is you've got to take off a percentage. You can lose 50 miles of range in the winter with just about all the EVs. Minimum, you're going to lose 50 miles off of them. So that 300 mile car now becomes 250. So depending on where you're working or what your use case is for the vehicle, if it's a company car, if it's a vehicle we're using a lot of, you do a lot of mileage in it, you have to think, is that really for you? And I mean, when I say 300, that's still the more generous end. I mean, most of them are still in the 200 to 250. So if you've got a 250 range car, similar to what this one is, you're going to probably be getting 200. This one in the winter, you get about 220. So you're getting that 10-15% more in a Blade battery vehicle, from what I can work out, than you perhaps are in a lot of other vehicles, because of the way the technology is, the way they've constructed the Blade battery just holds its energy very well. They are efficient. That's one thing I will say about them. This is quite a bulky, not an aerodynamic car, but I'm getting virtually the claim range out of it now in the summer, which is, I'm more than happy with that. But not a lot of cars, but other cars don't hold their thing so well. Yeah, so these things, as I said before, are important. So I think in summary then, if you're looking for a new EV, or if you're just transitioning from a petrol or diesel car into an EV, you feel this is the time for you. You want to look at your use case, how you're going to be using the vehicle. Do you have home charging? That's an influence as well, really, I guess. And then you want to look at things like, so fitting into that, if you're doing longer miles, longer range, and all that kind of stuff, you want to start looking into the battery size of the vehicle, what it's going to do at its worst case scenario. So in other words, January, UK, I'm in the UK, so January, what kind of miles you're going to be getting out of the battery in there, because that will be a big factor for you moving forward if you're doing a lot of miles, of course. So yeah, all those factors are really, really, really important. Pretty much on the whole, EVs are getting better. They're getting better efficiency out of the vehicles now. I mean, I'm sitting in a BYD, which are really efficient cars, I think, and there's lots going this way now, and so it's just going to get better and better, I feel. So in those ways, the infrastructure can only get better. A lot's made about the infrastructure, but it's getting better bit by bit. I will be doing a video on no home charger. You want to get an EV, you don't have a home charger, which is in my case actually, and then looking at what's going on with the infrastructure relating around that, because I think there's a big hole at the moment in. We're starting to see a lot of high-powered chargers coming into existence now, and all that kind of stuff, but not very much is being said about, you know, alternative charging, because there's no point in doing alternative charging, slow charging at high prices. It's just not going to work. If you're going to be doing 50 pence a kilowatt on a slow charger, I just would advise anyone to go for an EV if that's the case. There've got to be solutions for price compatibility to what you have with a home charger in a public sector, public network. So in other words, slow post chargers, whatever, all the technology that's coming out at the moment. But I'll do a video about that, and I'll look into it in a bit more detail. And we'll just look at that, because that's another 43% of the population don't have access to a home charger. So that's a big portion. And you might say, well, in these early years, they're just trying to adopt towards those people that have home charging. But that shouldn't stop other people who want to go electric from going electric. So we need a lot more solutions that way. And not just solutions, but a relatively sensible pricing relating to that. Because I see a lot of 7 to 11 kilowatt chargers that are still 50, 60 pence a kilowatt. And it's got to be there for hours to get that. So you must just go to a fast charger then, is what I'm trying to say. So there needs to be something worked out around that. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll be back with an update video very soon on the 1.6 upload. We'll go over what actually got downloaded from that. I lost all my radio stations, but I'll go into that in the video, or a lot of them. So it wasn't particularly that positive upload for me, and there wasn't very much on there either, really. But anyway, I'll go into those details. So look out for that one. And what was the other one? And then also the video about some of the slow charging scenarios that could be possible for people who are looking to get an EV that don't have a home charger, which I think is an area that's being neglected, I think, quite a lot at the moment. So see you on the next one, and happy motoring, guys, and yeah, speak to you soon.